On the table here is what I feel is probably one of the best solid state amplifier you can buy for headphones. Now I waited this for about 6 months now, and it's finally here. You know, my local distributor Zeppelin finally informed me today that it's ready for collection, and I was like really happy about it. Waited 6 months for it, so what I will do now is unbox this whole thing, put it on the table, and do a first look. Now, by the way, I have not heard this amp before in the shop. I do know, based on many people talking about it, is that it's definitely a good amp. But I'm also interested in all the knobs they have, the ability to compare decks and stuff. So today we will take a look at this amplifier after I unbox it, and I will do the first look with comparison to the Ferrum Ore. Without wasting time, I'll unbox it out. Now for the unboxing, let's see whether I can show you on the screen. Okay, so you have the booklet, and then you have the amp. So it comes in a few parts. This is the amp, this is the power unit, this is some power cables. The good thing is that they gave the Singapore version. The interconnects, which I'll put outside first. Pretty much these are the items. I'll put it on the floor and then I'll carry the amp up. First, this is the power supply unit. It is a very hefty chunk of metal. It has like the voltage selection. You can see here. And now this is the amplifier, you can see here. Now this amplifier surprisingly is lighter than expected. It's about maybe the same way as a Ferrum Ore or something like that. In totality, I think this amp isn't that huge. I mean, recently I reviewed the Armageddon and the SAEQHS1C. Both of them are massive and heavy. This feels kind of small, really, compared to what I'm used to, trying out recently. So let's, connect everything up. The power switch is here. The connection is here. Serial number is here. It's 230 volts, so nothing to change there. We'll connect all these cables up and power this up. So one thing I noticed just now while shifting things around, I noticed that they gave a lot of fuse. So they gave a lot of spare fuse. First time I've seen one. So I've connected up the cables. I think the cables were surprisingly hard. I mean, look at how stiff the power cables are. Surprisingly tough to cable up. A lot of wiggling and jiggling around my table. So let's take a look at the amp itself when it comes to the front and back panel. The back panel has two inputs. You can see here, and then there is the line out and the through, and then there's this option here. I don't know what is this for. Now I did notice something is that you notice that you can actually select unbalance and balance here, and then you can also select the amplification, I guess. You can choose 0 dB or plus 15 dB, both for A and B. Quite interesting. So I'm assuming that if you're using unbalance here and balance here and you want them to be somewhat similar, you probably want to flick that switch here. Okay, so then if you look at the front, I think the front is something that a lot of people have seen before. You have the two knobs here, knob 1, knob 2, A, B, then there's a lot of buttons here, allow you to select how you want to use it. Then there's these 3 interesting switches. This is a bass boost, this is a treble boost, and this is that soundstage, mono stage kind of dial itself. Then there's the very important one, the Class A and Class A Servo. This allows you to change the sound signature. And then this is the balance, so you can choose whether you want to bias more to the left channel or right channel. And lastly, then there's the on-off power switch. Then you can choose either you get the headphones or out. Pretty a lot of options. So for today's test, I'll be testing with the DCA Stealth, and for the deck, I will use one of my depths later. I'll put on the table, and we will be running balance in so that I can compare with my Ferrum Ore. Now you can't see the Ferrum Ore here. Let me move the camera. You can see that the Ferrum Ore is here, and this is my new HM1. So we'll do a comparison in the direct state. Then after that, I'll spend a little bit of time talking about all its unique functions in this particular amp here. So without wasting time, let me hook everything up and have a first listen. Now I have everything set up. The player I'm using is the Shuanling M9 Plus. This is a Quad AKM 4499. Really like the sound here. And then I have my HM1 here set up. And then this is the Ferrum Ore I'll be using for this comparison itself. I'll listen to 2 songs, give you guys an opinion really quickly. And then the headphones I'm using is the DCA Stealth. Now the setting I'll be going for is pure Class A, and The settings I'll be going for is the Class A, not the one with the servo, and then I'll do a comparison. Then after that, I will talk about what's the difference between the Class A and Class A servo, so you guys get a good understanding of this amplifier itself. So I've heard Ibarra with this comparison, the Ferrum All versus the HM1 on direct mode in Class A. Quite a different sound. I would say, as firstly, the Ferrum All feels a little bit more energetic in the middle, a bit more powerful in the middle, and a bit more focused. While the HM1 is a bit more lighter sounding, and it's also bigger in sound in terms of soundstage, and also slightly more dispersed in the vocals themselves. There's also the part where the focus of the vocals is a bit more on the relaxed style, while I find that on the Ferrum All it's a bit more aggressive sound for the mids itself. So, there's quite a difference in rendition. Now, bass-wise, it feels very similar. I don't think there is any significant to the bass itself. And maybe for the treble-wise, I do find that the HM1 feels a bit lighter and a bit more airy. But, this can be just an illusion to me. I really do not think that maybe it's really true. Because the fact that this has more soundstage does give that slight illusion to the airiness itself. Now, this is of course the first song. I'll do one more song, and then after that we'll talk about other things. So I will listen to Heartbeat this time. So once I listen to Heartbeat, I'm pretty sure that the Ferrum All has a little bit more focused sound, a little bit more, I would say, as focused mids itself. And this focused mids does have, I would say, as a little bit more, a touch more body and a little bit more forward. And it does make this whole sound, I guess it elevates the mids in a certain way that make it like in your face kind of feeling. The HM1 on the other hand is like super light and very natural. It really feels like Ikura is singing this song, but in a more touching way, a bit softer in the vocals, a bit more airier and natural sounding. Now, I want to hear what's the difference between Class A and Class A servo. In case you don't know, let me show you the photo here. So this amp can choose both modes, and I'm going to have a listen for it. So I've heard the servo and non-servo mode. I would say as the Class A mode is a bit more lighter in sound, a little bit more dispersed in the mids. While the servo mode, you get that focus in the mids itself. The mids just come together a little bit more. It's more focused. Things are a bit more clearer in the center. But that being said, there is no trade-off in terms of soundstage. Soundstage still feels equally large, though the mids instrument feel like they got smaller a little bit. I mean, depends, right, what's in the mids itself. But for vocals, it feels like it gets a lot more focus there. And also, I think the vocals themselves feels a bit more clearer when it comes to the servo mode compared to the non-servo mode. A little bit more dispersed, a bit more lighter in sound. And when you're on the servo on, it feels a bit more focused, a bit more body, a bit more clear. But it's not like the Ferrum All type where it's very forceful. This still feels very natural, but things just come together and focus a little bit more. So it's just a different sound signature, especially for the mids region. Other than that, I don't really feel that much difference. I personally like the Class A so far. That's my genre of sound. But you may prefer the servo version, which feels, I think, more precise, I guess, and more focused. It's a different rendition and take. Okay, so I'm going to try all the different fun stuff and get back to you in a moment. So as I said, there is the bass boost, there's the treble boost, and there is the soundstage knob. I'm going to just have a listen and give you guys my first take on it. So I've tried the 3 knobs. One is the bass knob, which I feel like it creates more body in the sound and also gives a little bit more bass, but it leaves the entire bass, so the whole music just feels like there's a little bit more bass atmosphere. If you get my gist of it, it just feels like there's a little bit more warmth, a little bit more bass, and a little bit more low energy in the entire sound itself. Now, it's quite nice if you ask me, and you can just tweak it to your taste if you want to, but the bass knob, I feel it actually works. I mean, if you don't like bass or the thing has just too much bass for the headphones, you can turn it down. It sounds pretty good, and you can turn it up again if you want more bass, And in fact, if something has anemic bass, you can turn it all the way. It does give you this very nice low energy feel. It's not like heavy bass that is irresponsible, but it's just nice low energy feel and still a lot of control there. You know, it doesn't increase the bass and make it bloated, you know, that kind of thing. It's very nicely controlled there. Now, for the treble, on the other hand, I don't quite like it. I feel that turning the treble up feels like listening to very modern IEMs with a lot of clarity, but also a lot of sibilance and sizzleness, which I don't quite like. While turning it down, however, makes it very dull sounding. It's like listening to some really dark headphones, like somebody just switched off the treble. It's kind of weird. Unlike the bass, where turning up and down is more subtle in feeling, the treble is quite significant, and going all the way down makes it dull to me, and going all the way up increases the clarity like mad. And unless the song has very little treble to start with, it feels too hot and sibilant to me. But I have to say the truth that just increasing it by 1 dial does make it feel very modern sound, like something from a very modern IEM. You know, I've been listening to a lot of IEMs these days, and most modern IEMs tend to boost their treble. This one lets you control the boosting. It's quite fun. Now the last one is a soundstage. Turning it all the way to the left makes it mono. It's kind of weird. It sounds really hollow, like there's only sound in the center. While turning it all the way to the right gives you this very big surround sound, which is very weird in the track itself. It feels like everything is just very big around you. Like, it feels everywhere. It is not like CrossFit. CrossFit is weird. This one is really soundstage, but it is more of a subtle type. You know, when you go from the middle to the one click, it feels good. You know, there's this just slight increase and slight spreading out of music instruments. But when you go all the way, it feels like it spreads out too much and everything's around you. And the way it spreads is not like left, right, you know, it spreads around you. So it goes from like just in your head to maybe slightly above your head and then surround your head. Weird. I wouldn't recommend the 2 clicks up for soundstage, and I would definitely not recommend the 2 clicks down into mono itself. But for the bass and treble, I think you can play around if you like to, but I do prefer the natural direct sound. However, if I was to play a knob, I'll play the soundstage increase by 1. It feels just nice. And for headphones like the DCA stuff, I will also increase the bass by 1. Gives it a little bit more bass energy, which is quite enjoyable to listen. While I will not touch a treble at all. The treble is weird. To me, it creates a very weird signature itself. So overall, how do I feel about the HM1? Now, I pay my own money for it. I waited 6 months. I bet on it that it's good. Lucky for me, it's really nice. It is actually better than my Ferrum Or. At least for me, my sound signature type, I do like the more softer, lighter, bigger sound with all the clarity there. I don't want that too much power in the center. So I love the SAEQ, and I can imagine I'm loving this quite a bit too. This is a sound signature I want, and it feels very natural. Like when Heartbeat was singing, I don't know, you really have to try yourself with the DCA stuff. It feels like she's just singing in front of you. Really beautiful sound. Now, this is not like the Ferrum Or. It's also not like, I feel, the Hollow Bliss. When I heard the Hollow Bliss before, it doesn't give me that effect. It gives me a very light, big sound, but not this kind of natural lightness. Soundstage-wise, I'm not too sure. I think the SAEQ does sound bigger still. But the lightness of the sound, this one sounds lighter. The SAEQ not so light there. I don't know. Amplifiers are very hard to compare. They have just very subtle difference that, you know, I do not know whether even psychoacoustic is coming to play here. But considering that this is such a big, heavy amp, and I'm listening and comparing, I don't think I'm biased to this amp when it comes to the first impression, at least. And after I listened to it, it really does sound different to me. It really does sound quite different. But it's very subtle, and it may not be worth the 12,000 Sing dollars for this. In Singapore, this is 12,500. I believe now it's like 8 or 9,000 USD. It's a very expensive amp and also very exclusive, since Zahl only makes like 50 per year. That's why for today. I hope you enjoy my first take of the Zahl HM1. I think it's a really beautiful amp. I mean, I'll take some pictures later, and you know, throughout the entire video, I think you've seen some pictures here. I think it's a beautiful amp. It is gorgeous. It sounds great, sounds different, and it has options for you to play with. that will delight you. That's why for today. I hope you enjoyed this short little first take, and I'll see you guys again. Bye bye.